Hey, everybody, welcome to Horizon Podcast, episode 30th, 2020. It's the first episode of 2026. Woo! Anyways, I'm so excited to see you guys here. We are a podcast empowering women to heal, overcome trauma, embrace change through our community. We strive to inspire women to create a future where they lead with love, confidence, and courage, helping break boundaries and reaching horizons. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 30 of Horizon Podcast. I'm sorry, I just love saying that. And we are in 2026. I hope everybody had a wonderful, eventful holidays, but they're over. And I feel such a relief. I love the holidays, don't get me wrong, but my God, can they be stressful? And I minimized the stress, I've learned. Okay. But I love to spend time with my family, my loved ones. I love the vibes of the holidays, but I'm very happy that they are over. And I am happy that we are in 2026. Looking forward to this year. I'm taking in all the blessings that God has for me. But with that being said, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about becoming her. How to become her. Emphasize the her, okay? Capitalize the her. And what I mean by that is not just outer appearance, not just the physical. It's more of becoming her is who are you really? And along my healing, I've learned that it's much more than just, like I said, externally, it's also who you are internally. And sometimes, it needs to catch up, vice versa. Your internal needs to catch up to your outer, or your inner needs to catch up to your, external. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So with that being said, let's see. How do I start this? I've learned that, it's important to have a routine. It's important to have discipline. It's important to prioritize yourself, especially mentally. And one thing that I definitely worked on in 2025 was getting to know my nervous system, especially coming from trauma, coming from abuse. I'm sorry, especially coming from an abusive relationship. Your body is the one that is always subjected to hurt, I guess. I don't know how to say it, or how to describe what I'm trying to say. I hope you guys understand. But I've had to really, it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen I've seen it, where it says your body knows it before you know it. So I was able to get my body out of fight or flight. I was able to get my body out of survival. So I had to learn the difference between all that, because I didn't know what that was. I just thought that what I was living in was normal. So I had to educate myself on all that. I had to educate myself also on, we hear a lot about, feminine energy and masculine energy. And I had to know when to turn my masculine energy off and tune into my feminine. But that requires you knowing the feminine part of it. And the feminine part of it, if you're not really in tune with some of the things that I think I just mentioned right now, it's hard for you to be feminine and soft and calm and grounded and intuitive if you're full of confusion, a nervous wreck, anxiety, fear. It takes that away. So when you strip all of these negative thoughts and emotions, and you're able to control your mental and your body a lot more, clarity comes, and it's easier for you to get to know who you are overall. I learned to not live in fear, because I realized that I lived a lot of my life in fear. So I recently learned that I don't hold space for fear. As soon as I start becoming scared of something, or I start thinking negative or in a fear way, I try to snap myself out of it And that goes with training your mind to see the positive in things and looking at what is in front of you. It could be something, whatever obstacle is in front of you, looking at it in the sense of being more optimistic and positive about it, as opposed to being negative and fearful or anxious. And that has taken a lot of time, because, like I said, I was a very emotional person without even knowing I was emotional. I was just numb and emotional. So I was very reactive. So what I learned is that I had to pause and I had to really strip all all this fear, all this anxiety, all this doubt and all this confusion. I had to strip it. And I asked myself a lot of questions. And if I didn't know the answer, I would try to figure it out. But when it comes down to self-discovery and self-development, it doesn't just show itself. It's something that you have to go looking for. And it's something that you have to work on to learn about yourself. And sometimes we have to go back to our childhood, or we have to go back to places where there's old wounds or traumas that you probably haven't touched or felt in a long time, because you just kind of, numbed yourself to it because you didn't want to feel. So I had to do a lot of that as well. I had to go back to a lot of traumas, a lot of wounds that I didn't want to, and I had to really feel it. I had to process it. I had to tell myself, what emotion am I feeling at this moment, going back to that place that I had been avoiding for years, right? And once I felt it, and once I allowed my body to feel it as well, not just mentally, but my body, I was able to let it go, and I was able to put an emotion behind it, and I was able to move on. And I think people don't understand that the part about healing is more emotional than you think. And not only that, but it's actually facing those emotions you didn't want to, that you had numbed yourself to not feel, is actually feeling those and facing those and overcoming those and not allowing those to break. Is it going to hurt? 100%. And I think that's why a lot of people don't really finish the work or don't do the work, because it's easier to stay where you're at and where you're comfortable than to actually go back in time or go back to a place where you once avoided, because it hurts. It does hurt. You feel the pain, you feel the fears, you feel all of that. But that's the whole point of healing, is that you're overcoming all that and breaking all those barriers that once were there that you built to not go back to. Because if you don't, as time progresses, it starts to show in your choices in life. It starts to show in your relationship. It starts to show in your mental. It starts to show in your emotional. And that leads to a lot of the choices that you're probably not happy you had made, or a lot of the mistakes or the lessons. So I like to call them the mistakes. To me, are lessons that we go through to learn. And hopefully some of us learn. Sometimes it takes us a little longer than others to learn. But the way I see life now is, what is this teaching me? And sometimes it doesn't give it to me right in the moment, but I allow it time to process, and I don't over stress about it anymore. I just see things as it is what it is. And eventually time will tell what this is trying to teach me, or what the outcome of this is. But I was never this calm, relaxed, secure. It took me a lot of healing, a lot of cries, a lot of a lot. It took me a lot to get to this place. Okay. But now I can honestly say that I don't live in fear. I'm very intuitive. I trust my intuition like no other. It's there to protect me. I know my nervous system, and I'm in tune with my subconscious. So I'm able to continuously ask myself questions, but that will make me better and help me overall. Her, trust herself. Her, trust her intuition. She has discernment. And just know that when there's doubt or lack of peace, that's the answer. So what I mean by that is that if there is confusion, if there is anxiety, if it seems clouded, that is not for you, whatever it may be. Or sometimes it's the timing. That is not the timings. And we have to learn to trust that if there's any of that, don't force it. It means that it's not meant for you. It's not for you. But sometimes we want to make things fit, or we want to make things be, that we sit here and we continuously try to make it be it, when it straight already told you, if there's confusion, it's not it. If there's a negative feeling about it, it's not it. So just trust that. Stop trying to make things happen. Okay. Becoming her doesn't force, she doesn't chase, and she doesn't convince. Okay. She doesn't just use her looks or body for temporary validation. She's secure in herself, her beliefs, and who she is to her core. That is part of becoming her. Okay. So what it actually requires: emotional regulation, emotional maturity, how you react to things. Okay. Boundaries over people. Boundaries over people pleasing, self-respect over validation, consistency over motivation, and having discipline, routines, and self-trust. Okay. Now, her understands that anxiety clouds judgment, so she regulates first before she responds. That is something that I definitely have had to work on myself, because I was a very reactive person. And recently I mastered not being so reactive. And I even used to think like, well, I'm reacting to their actions, but at the end of the day, if you take away someone and them doing something to you and their actions, the best way to respond to that is by having no reaction, because at that point they already brought you into it and they got you out of character, and now you're becoming just like them. That's what I learned. So I recently mastered not to react. If there's no point. That's wasted energy, wasted emotions, and wasted. I have so many other things that that require my mental capacity that I do not need to exert any more emotion into something that isn't going to possibly go anywhere. So becoming her is by removing old beliefs, survival patterns, trauma response, and the need to be chosen. Basically, unlearning what kept you in survival. Yeah, and that's not easy, okay? That's rewiring your nervous system. That's resetting basically everything that you were taught to a clean slate and starting over at whatever age you're at. And that's a lot, but it can be done. Okay. So what mental and emotional discipline means is kind of like redirecting your thoughts. Um, watching your words. Like I said, regulating before you react. Not engaging in unnecessary conversations or arguments. You don't need to have the last word. Okay, because right there you're using your ego. And you need to know when to use your ego and when not to. Okay, ego's good, depending on when it's being used. Okay, that's how I feel. Trusting the difference between fear and intuition. Okay, because sometimes fear, anxiety can be confusing a little bit, and we can confuse it for intuition and be nudging. That's not it. Knowing the difference between want and need. Okay, want is loud. Fear is urgent. Intuition is calm. So if something requires force, anxiety, or over explanation is not aligned. Okay. So her trust that what is meant for her will be met in her peace and not panic. I definitely believe that. The way I see it is like, this one I think I'm going to use forever. If you're laying next to somebody and you don't feel peace laying next to them, then you don't belong there. That's your intuition and that's your nervous system telling you. And a lot of us don't listen because we want to be stubborn and we want to make it work. But then you're just causing harm to yourself by doing that. Okay. Moving with intention, not impulse. I used to be a very impulsive person. Definitely. I look back and there's a lot of times where I did a lot of things out of impulse and then later regretted. So now I don't move by impulse. I'm intentional. I don't chase highs. That dopamine hit, don't chase that, don't need that. Found different ways to substitute that are healthier and better for me. I don't romanticize chaos. Don't. And I remember what did it for me is that I forgot what I was reading one time, and I believe a lot of us do this, but when for example, when we're in the talking stages of talking to somebody, right? What we tend to do is we tend to romanticize the future of what it could possibly be. And I remember reading that one time. Stop romanticizing the future of what you want with that person. So when you stop doing that, you strip away the dream of what it could be, and you sink into reality of what it is in the moment. So you kind of snap yourself out of what could be to what it is, and it brings you back. So I definitely apply that now, and I make sure that I don't let my wants of the dreams that I wish could be take the reality of what actually is. And that allows me to see the flags. I took those glasses off, and I'm able to see things for what they are, not for what I want them to be. Because sometimes what we want is not what we need. And I live by that. Okay. So self-respect before confidence. This is a big one. Self-respect is quiet. Confidence is loud. Her creates boundaries and doesn't over-explain. Her has standards and they aren't negotiable. She doesn't argue with anybody. She leaves when the energy is off, and there's no further discussion than that. Don't waste your time arguing with anybody. I don't care who it is. Don't waste your time exerting energy and putting your mental health through unhealthy dynamics. They're not worth it. This is a big one, because I know that there's a lot of women out here. Becoming her is not using your body for attention. So I feel like a lot of women especially male-centered women, use a lot of their looks and their body to, how would I say it? To gain attention. But what it's temporary. It's not, when you're leading with your body, they're gonna treat you accordingly. And what I mean by that is that they're not taking you serious. I'm sorry, but it is true. A woman that leads with promiscuity, I'm sorry, but doesn't get taken serious. She gets used. Okay. And a lot of women think that because that's all they have to give, because they don't know who they are, and they don't know their self-worth. Okay. And they don't have no self-love. They think that if they give their body, that is going to keep a man. Unfortunately, that doesn't keep a man. That keeps a man temporarily, and they only call you or want you for just that. And a lot of women use the mistake that if they sleep with a man, that they think that they can convince them by what they give them, right? And it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry, ladies, but especially for a lot of the women that lead with this, look at the patterns, look at the behavior. Has it worked before? No. So then why are we still doing it? Like, I don't understand. Why are we still leading with just our body? Like, if we that, and if you don't know how to do that, you have to really, really stop giving them that and see if they'll look for you. Stop giving them the sex. Stop giving them the body. Stop, right? Stop giving them yourself in that way and see if they'll reach out for anything outside of that. Are they even courting you? Are they taking you on dates? Do they respect you? Because if you're sleeping with somebody, what are you getting in return besides just sex, right? Like, are they, like, what is it? Because my whole thing is like, you're giving something up so precious, right? And what are you getting in return? Because they know what they're getting, and that's the intent. That's what they want. But is it something that you want? And sometimes you try to justify your actions, right? And you're like, well, yeah, I want it too, or I like it too. Right. But then after, how do you feel? After that quick dopamine is gone, after that quick little validation that he gave you because he came over or whatever, how do you feel after the fact? Do you feel used? Do you feel like are you happy? Is he consistently calling you? Is he consistently courting you? Are y'all dating? Is this just a situationship? What exactly is it? You have to ask yourself, right? So I feel like a lot of women lead with sex. They do. You lead with sex, and it's honestly, like I said, it's temporary. And it comes with a cost. Your self-worth. Women mistake giving their body, their access, and their intimacy for validation, excitement, or monetary satisfaction, when it just starts just physical. Okay. And then after a while, when you go from just being physical at the beginning and then you want something serious, do you ever get to something serious? Most of the time it's a no, because you already led with the only thing you can give. They don't want to know anything more outside of that. They don't care to know your intellectual depth. They don't care to know who you really are. They don't care to know your beliefs. They don't care to know further than what you're giving them. And that's your body. So if you lead with sex, that's all you're going to be. It's just sex to them. Yeah. Because honestly, good, healthy men are not attracted to promiscuity or misalignment. They're not. And then that leads to like you questioning yourself and asking yourself, why am I dating the same men or why do I continue to run into the same type of men? Maybe you have to look at your patterns and your behavior as to why these men keep, are attracted to you. Because I truly, truly believe in you attract what you are. And I am speaking from experience, okay? Because I went through all these emotions myself. I went through all this myself back when I was dating, after my long-term relationship that I left. I went through all that. I went and I questioned myself, and I was like, why are they not taking me serious? Or how am I, what is going on? And I discovered all that. I discovered that this is how I felt about myself. I had no self-worth. I didn't know what I loved about myself besides my appearance. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know who I was. So this is what led to this. It led to me, my self-development, learning who I am, to my core, and standing on who I am, for me not to have self-doubt, for whenever an outsider comes in, they can question who I am. That is non-existent here anymore. I see, don't live by that no more. So I don't confuse attention with intention. Okay. So don't confuse desire with commitment, and don't give yourself a fill to void because sometimes you feel lonely. A lot of it is that we become so codependent on the opposite sex that we think we're lonely, but in reality, no, you're probably just bored, or you probably don't have a routine, or you probably you're not doing enough. I'm sorry, but if you feel lonely, you're not doing enough. And it's okay to feel lonely here and there. That is completely okay. I'm not saying don't. That is okay. That is an emotion. But at the same time, how is it, what type of lonely? Is it a lonely like I need somebody to be there? Or is it a lonely like, let me go do something productive for myself that will help me clear? And a lot of us, I would say, are overthinkers, right? Or we overanalyze things. So we're in our head a lot of the time. And I definitely would say I'm an overthinker. I think about absolutely everything. So I had to learn to quiet this down and really calm her down. That's the best way I could say it. Calm her down, because she had so many thoughts that I wasn't thinking clearly. And then on top of that, not only was I not thinking clearly, I was overly emotional. So it was just, that's where the impulsiveness came in. That's where the wrong decisions came in. That's where it was just cloud. And I couldn't think or see clearly. And it led me to not my best decisions. So I couldn't look at myself and be like, I got out of a 13-year relationship that was just so unhealthy to get into these other relationships or date these other men that weren't making me feel good either. And why? I couldn't. And I kept telling myself, don't do this over. Don't do this over. And it's not that it was going to be in the same way or the same form, but it still didn't feel right. And I didn't like it. So I really, really had to look, and it was more of the choices that I was making and what I was allowing and tolerating. And then also getting to look at my behavior, my patterns, like I said before, why am I allowing this? And a lot of it was because at the time it was ego driven. I was dating for attention. I was dating for validation. And it felt good in the moment. Now I can tell you, I don't need validation from anybody. I am very happy with who I am. I'm very confident. I'm very secure. Promiscuity isn't empowerment. It's often unhealed seeking. Yes. I don't want to say a lot, but depending, if you have trauma, some of it could be daddy issues. Some of it could be unhealed past relationships. So you feel like that's all you can lead with. I'm telling you, it's not. So choosing to stop giving yourself away so easily, and it's not repression, it's self-respect. Okay. So becoming her means protecting your body, your energy, and your emotional world. Okay. Because access to her is earned, not given for temporary validation. Okay. So you have to detach yourself from validation. So, like I was stating earlier, you go from being chosen to being the one that gets to choose. So her doesn't need to be chosen. She chooses herself. Okay. Compliments feel nice, but they don't define her. Attention doesn't intoxicate her. Silence doesn't scare her because she doesn't chase, she chooses. Her calm is because she is secure. Do you get what I'm saying? So just know that energy is awareness, and I'm huge on that. When I walk in a room, I can feel people's energy, and right off the bat, my intuition starts, going in directions where I already know if I want to engage with that person or I don't. And that's where the discernment comes in. So all of that ties together: intuition, discernment, being in tune with your nervous system, being in tune with who you are. All that it all plays together once you start self-developing, or you start to get to know who her is. Okay, so I've learned that her doesn't live in fear. She lives in trust. And that changes everything, because that means that you trust that everything is going to work out. I have so much faith that I said, I don't live in fear. And I have so much faith that I know things will work out no matter how hard they may seem. And I truly, truly believe that. I believe to my core that I can overcome anything that is thrown my way. I believe that I can't live in that fear. I face it head on. I don't avoid it. But I also know how to handle it now. And I know that whenever it feels like chaotic, or whenever there's anxiety behind it, that's not for me. And I don't belong there. Like, overall, I've learned to trust when my body speaks to me. Okay. And that leads to, when you become her, it changes who you are attracted to. And that's why sometimes people say, well, I don't like what I used to like anymore. Yeah, because you outgrown that, and you don't think the same way you used to think before. And you've probably been through things in life that showed you otherwise, So chaos stops feeling like excitement. Inconsistency stops feeling romantic. Potential stops being enough. Stop dating men for who they could be, and you start dating men for who they are. Peace becomes attractive when your nervous system heals. And I for a minute there, I didn't know, being calm, being peaceful, things being aligned felt so off to me, because I'm not used to that. I'm used to chaos. I'm used to just not healthy. So it did feel boring, and it did feel like, what? Like, this is so weird. But that is where I want to be now, because I don't like the old patterns. I don't like the chaos. I don't like the not knowing. I don't like the trying to control things. That was one of my major things in my relationship, is that I thought I controlled the relationship, all in the end, just to know that I was never in control. But the thing is that when you try to control anything, it's never going to work. And I'll tell you why, because here you are. My whole thing is, like, I remember I used to have my ex's location, his passwords, all that, right? It was a whole 9 yards of toxicity. And I used to think that I was in control on making sure that he would behave. When you have to control somebody or tell somebody how to act or how to behave or what to do or not to do, there's a disconnect. And that already that's not where you belong. The fact that you have to tell somebody, don't cheat on me. The fact that you have to tell somebody, don't text this person, don't like this, don't follow this. Like, the fact that you have to tell somebody grown what to do, that already is a problem in itself. And automatically you have to walk away, because obviously that person does not care about you or respect you enough or to not have to do things like that. So I think control is a huge part in relationships. And I learned that I don't ever want to be in a relationship where I have to check phones, where I have to check locations, where I have to, constantly check in. Where are you at? What are you doing? What time are you coming home? I don't want to do that. That is been there, done that. That is so unhealthy. It's something that if I don't feel peace, if I don't feel trust, if I can't trust you, if I can't respect you, I can't be with you. And it goes the same. I expect the same from the other person. I feel like we're old enough to understand that if somebody wants to do something, let them. Show me who you are. Now I'm just kind of like, show me who you are. Eventually it's going to come out. I truly believe everything that is done in the dark will come out to light always. Okay. So the way I see it is like, show me the way you move. Show me the way you move so I know what I have to do. But for the most part, I would say I'm very tuned with my discernment. So I don't even, once I feel like something's up, I'm out. I don't have room for chances. I don't have room for, let me explain. I don't have room, but I didn't mean this. I'm sorry. I don't have room for that. I need you to be centered. I need you to be healed. I need you to be mature. I need you to have, what is it called? I need you to have, emotional intelligence, but also emotional discernment as well. Okay. I need you to already come like that. And the way I see it is, when not becoming her is working on yourself, working on your traumas, working on knowing who you are. And when you know who you are and when you're secure, life will, I feel like that energy is reciprocated. When you're in a good mental headspace, when you're positive, it's kind of like you're just orbiting good energy and you're throwing that out there. And I feel like that's what you're going to attract. So imagine if you're broken, if you're full of anxiety, if you're full of fear, if you're full of confusion, what do you think you're going to attract? Exactly that. And if you sit here, and I guarantee you, if you sit here and look at your past relationships or your relationship, whatever, and you ask yourself all these questions, or you look at it, you're going to see a connection. You're going to see a connection of a place where you're not happy, or something about you that person mirrors. And I truly believe me doing the work and me becoming the best me is preparing me for greater relationships, friendships. My friendships are so aligned. So like, we are all in tune with each other. I don't it was a saying on Instagram that I saw where it said, like, I don't hang out with people I don't like. I don't have to cut people off 2026 because I don't hang out with people I don't like. That's true. I don't have energy for people that aren't where I'm at. To me, I'm all about alignment and intention. That's where I'm at, especially because I've been through so much in my life that I'm more strict on my boundaries, and I don't give second chance. I've said this over and over. I don't give second chances. As soon as I feel like you're off, it's done. I don't waste my time. I don't entertain inconsistency. I don't entertain bare minimum. It's crazy to me because the last episode that we had, everybody was going crazy over my standards. Everybody was, the comments were going insane over my standards over me, what I feel like I deserve, what I will and will not tolerate. And I just think that's crazy, because if you felt the way that I feel, or you've been through some of the shit that I feel, I mean, that I've gone through, or not even that, don't wait to go through what I've been through to um, have to feel this way. Just in general, it's okay to have standards. It's okay to know your self-worth and know that you deserve better. It's okay to not, it's okay to have what is it called? A list of your negotiables and non-negotiables. And you know what? When you actually are very secure in what you actually like and don't like, the universe will throw that even more at you, because there's no confusion. There's no like, maybe I do, maybe I don't. It's straight. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. And not only that, you apply that. Therefore, you're not going to continue dating the same type of men that you keep asking yourself, like, well, why do I continue to attract the same type of men? You stop asking yourself that when you have standards, when you see yourself differently. And sometimes it's taking a look at who you are as I have a good heart. I have, and it's crazy because I feel like sometimes, I mean, the men nowadays, the dating scene, it ain't all that. But I also believe that not all men are the same. I believe that there is a man out there that I feel fits my description of what I want in a man. That's what I believe. But I'm also working on becoming the best me, the best her, for him. Not that I'm looking, but I'm just saying, whenever that person does show up, I've already done the work. I've already, healed. I don't bring traumas. I don't bring chaos. I don't bring, toxic behavior. I don't bring control. I don't bring just the negative things that people think it's okay to be in a relationship. I don't bring that. And that is why I feel like for some people, my standards are so out of reach, because how will you ever find that? They're out there. They're out there. It's just, that's what I believe. And I am embodying that, to be honest with you. But that's in the future. What I'm saying is, work on yourself, ladies. Work on who you are. Ask yourself those questions. Look at yourself in the mirror. And also, don't tolerate bare minimum. The fact that you're going to sit there and wait for a text message from a man that probably looked at it and just left you on red, whenever he's ready to deal with it, he'll text you. That's sad. We got to have more self-love for ourselves. We got to have more self-worth. Okay. You are worth more than 2-hour text later. Okay. You are worth more than a check-in. The inconsistency that a man brings to you is not, it's not serious. Okay. I'm sorry, but the good morning text every morning, the what are you doing? I need much more than that. That's very superficial. So like I said, I don't tolerate bare minimum. I don't tolerate superficial. I don't tolerate temporarily. I don't. There's just things that I don't accept anymore. I don't accept bare minimum. To me, things need to be thought out. They need to be, you need to consider my time. Okay. Not only because I'm a single full-time mom, but because my time is valuable. And I think time is worth more than money because there's so much to time. There's memories. There's so much, which I'm not going to get into that, but that's how I feel. Ladies, I need you to understand that we are emotional creatures, whether you want to admit to it or not. We are emotional creatures. And when you start giving yourself to a man whether you do it physically, if you give yourself to a man sexually, you're creating a bond already, and you're already attaching yourself to that person. Okay. If you're pen paling, that's what I like to call it, when you're just texting back and forth, you're creating an emotional connection with that person. So that's also, you're also being used just for emotions. Because I realize some of these men now like to be pen pals. They don't do dates. They just like to have like multiple women to text for their ego. And a lot of it is, that validation. I got so many bitches, or, I got so many, I got a roster, wooty woo woo. Like the whole thing, the roster. Yes, I've been through the roster thing. It was cool in the stage that I was in. But now, thinking clearly, I'm looking at the roster and I'm like, who really has time for all that? Who really has time to sit here and give so many people time or energy and emotion? And you have to keep the conversation alive. So you have to remember what you talk to each one about. And not only that, but it's kind of like, are you dating all of them? What are you getting out of it? Are you giving yourself to all of them? What benefit is it to you? I have a lot of things going on in my life personally, that are very important. And for me to sit here and now look at having a roster, that sounds exhausting. Okay. Because I can't even give the time to one person fully. Imagine having 3, 4, 5. And then at some point you kind of lose touch of reality that that's all you're seeking. So that's where the pen pals come in, because all they want is that dopamine hit of, oh yeah, she texts, and then they reply back whenever they want. So you're just one of many. That's how I see it. So I choose not to be one of many. I want to be the only. And that's where I had to get to know who I was in order to understand that. And I know that I am worth all of that, because I know who I am to my core. I know what I will accept and won't accept. And not only that, I'm able to look at men's patterns and behaviors. And it's sad to say, I don't say that I walk in like this, but if there's a flag, I'm gonna make sure that I know that there's a flag. And depending on, if it's orange or red, I think we even said there's pink ones, then, but I have no tolerance for bullshit. I have no tolerance for games. I'm here for intention. So I hope that I hope that you guys got something out of this episode. It's our first episode back. Bear with me. I was excited, but also nervous. But I hope that you got something out of this episode, at least resonated with something. So 2026, if you're not her, you're gonna become her. And I am here for every step of the way. Send me a DM, text. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the follows. Leave a comment. Let us know how you liked this episode. Let us know what you want to hear. Give me some topics that we can cover in 2026. I have a few up, but I'm always open for conversations. Thank you so much. Catch us on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed, TikTok, Instagram, and listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast, Horizon Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for episode 31. Thank you guys.